Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with the next part of our Learning C# tutorial series, and today we're going to go ahead and finish off where we left off, using our new generic damage zone taken in a raycast hit. So what we'll do is load up our overlay manager, and where we have our shoot manager here, and then here we check for each raycast hit. We'll do d.doDamage. And then here we can also do do damage, passing in that same hit. So you'll probably think of, why are we calling that do damage twice? And that is assuming that here one of them will do nothing, it'll log it, and then the other one will actually do the damage. And then if we go to our generic character damage zone here, we are not actually overriding that the do damage taking in a raycast hit, so it'll revert back to that base class here and call the virtual void, which doesn't do anything, so it's the same as having an empty method. Now, what I'm actually going to do is remove this warning here because it's called either way. What we could do, if you wanted to be really clean, we could go ahead and put in a boolean here, which has to be implemented, saying whether or not he needs that raycast hit. I know I was talking about that last episode. And then based on whether or not we need it, we can go ahead and call either or the do damage or the do damage taken in the raycast hit. But I like it this way. It's simple, where we can just call both of them at the same time. And I will have to go ahead and test it. Now, if we go ahead and load up, must have a body because, okay, yep, that's right, I forgot. When I said that it'll revert back to this base class here of iDamageable, it's not automatically empty. We have to make it empty like that. So we can't just an abstract. We can go ahead and just plug in that semicolon, because it's not expected to have a body. It's just, nothing. It has to be implemented. That's why it's forced, it's abstract. However, for virtual, it may or may not be implemented, which is why in our generic character damage zone, if we don't implement it, it'll revert back to this iDamageable, where we need something for it to fall back on. And even if it's nothing, it still needs to have something, Alrighty, let's go ahead and load up the small house. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I actually added in these glass sprites. It's really simple. It's just a partially transparent blue texture, and we'll go ahead and add on that generic damage zone. I notice it has this whole distance from camera thing. We're gonna go ahead and set that to 0, or rather, yeah, we'll set it to 0, because even we shouldn't be able to calculate distance either way. So if we shoot in the middle and it looks like it hits below it, the player will think like, what? I mean, the player might think, oh yeah, that's bullet drop or something, but we don't want to do that sort of thing without having any way of the character knowing that, oh yeah, that was 100 meters. So we're going to set it to 0, so the penetration will happen exactly where you aim. The toggle game objects, in fact, here we have our toggle game objects. However, we're not using it, so we can keep it empty. The distance from camera and the toggle game objects is only used by this generic character damage zone. If we were to create another damage zone, we could go ahead and use these toggle game objects and the and the distance from camera. However, for this generic damage zone, it does not use them, so we do not need to actually to fill them out. And then we are going to, however, put in a spawn object and a damage sound. Now I'm going to pause the video real quick because I have to go ahead and actually make those assets, so I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and just drag on the sound here, which is just sounds like this. Okay, and then we'll have to go ahead and create these sprites here. So let's go into our sprites and have this new glass bullet thing. However, instead of dragging it on and having it turn on and off like we did for the like bullet splats, what we'll do instead is just reference this as almost like a prefab. and we'll drag this glass bullet game object on like that. Actually, because it is considered a sprite, we cannot actually drag it on, so we'll have to create a prefab from this. Let's go ahead and drag this on like that. And now it is of type game object, because prefabs are game objects. I've been getting kind of lazy with the prefabs. We might actually have to go ahead and create folders for this. In fact, you know, we'll go ahead and start now. What the heck? And we'll call this bullet holes, and drag that glass bullet into there. Hit save. And then actually, I'm going to go ahead and actually we'll call this props, and then inside here we'll go ahead and we'll call this generic window, and we'll create a prefab of that, drag it into our props here, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that old one, and then duplicate this guy, drag him over like that, hit save, and let's go ahead and try it out. And nothing, because we failed. However, the reason for this is if we go into our overlay manager here, even though our or what's it called, our window does not have a distance, we are still taking in this interpreted wind. So I have to keep in mind that even for the every other object, whether or not it has a height adjustment, which is set after we calculate it, we do also have to always take into account this wind factor as well. So it's at 148 right now, and still nothing. Hold on a second. Okay, never mind. Actually, I figured it out in like 2 seconds. And that is always my problem about forgetting to add on the box colliders. And I know I was talking about this earlier about this apply button, and what's really cool about it is if you hit apply, every other object, whether it's in the scene or not, will be applied, and now this object also has a box collider with the same values, which is really cool. Now if we go ahead and hit run, and I'm not going to fail it, I'm actually going to hit him this time. We also have that glass shattering sound. And there we go. I will stop the video now, and in the next tutorial we'll go ahead and talk about, I don't know, maybe a store, or we'll go and start a new mission. I have a whole list of things I want to talk about. Some sprite sounds, maybe encrypting data, and then eventually we need to put in some sort of credit system as well. So I'll see you guys then.